Hello, dames. I am excited to be here today to share some of the breadth of knowledge and wisdom that is from the amazing Ellen Melko Moore, who is always so sheepish. She's like, oh no, just stop it. But Ellen and
Yeah.
I, Ellen is one of those dames who frequently takes other dames under her wing and says, hey, let me help you figure out how to get the most out of your membership. And so she graciously has agreed to do this for all of you so that every new member, when you're coming in, should you decide to, you know, befall upon this video and watch us for the next however long, you will get to learn from Ellen's ideas and wisdom. So, Ellen Melko Moore, you have been a dame since, I don't even know, 2022, I think.
Yeah, I think 2021. But
Okay,
anyway, a few years.
2021.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this is one of the three rooms that you spend time in. This is one of the groups that you have said you get, I can't remember what you said at Funference, of the percentage of your business you've gotten from the dames.
About a third.
And the fact that you have gotten that, and the fact that you have built also a community of raving fans, is because, in my opinion, you are a go-giver. That's a Bob Berg term from his book that he wrote. I don't even know how long ago, but you are a go-giver. You are somebody who, before you receive, you give, and you become visible, and you become seen as the expert by providing value, not by telling everyone how great you are, but by showing through your demonstrating of your skills, your abilities, and your value. So, just a little bit of a, spoiler alert there as to what some of the things are that Ellen might say. But
Oh,
Ellen,
wow.
yes, it's true. And it's really awesome because to to teach that to people is different, but I think that you have the ability to do that. So let's talk about what your thoughts are around what community is right now and is going to be in the foreseeable future in what you call the AI apocalypse.
Yes, as we enter the AI apocalypse, which, 50-50 could go either way. But one thing is for sure, I was just watching an interview with a guy named Dr. Yampolsky. I think it's Ian Yampolsky. But he was talking about that predictions right now, this is winter 2025, 2026, is that in 5 years, AI will be able to do every single cognitive task that we as human beings do in the next 5 years better, faster, without ever getting sick, without ever having family issues, without ever whining and wanting more money, right?
Right?
So we have to kind of center ourselves in this moment and just understand that all of our training, uh, if we're in this group or around this age, whatever, all of our training in life has been about, being mostly the brainiest brain we can be as far as our work. Now, as women, we are more conditioned to be more social, to plug into groups a little better, to give and receive. That's part of our heritage too. But since we've mostly been in a fairly masculine work mode, right?
Right?
The things we are unconsciously trained to do is be the brainiest brain we can be. I know more than you. I know it faster than you. I can explain it better than you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. And so I can do it faster than you, whatever it is. And so we just have to really get this in the context of what's going to matter.
Mm.
What's going to matter when AI can perform? There is no amount of wisdom that I have that I'm sharing with y'all right now. None that AI couldn't do better in 5 years. We're saying every cognitive task within 8 years, every physical task. So, that's the part of tell your kids to be plumbers, but only for the next 8 years, because then robots will be able to do it cheaper. So
Hmm.
anyway, uh, I think people should be much more terrified than they are. And I say that only I think people are still really asleep to this. I really do. I think people are like, yeah, stuff's going to happen. It's going to be wild. But if you go listen to the people at the very top of this food chain, they are talking about listen, all this shit that you thought mattered does not matter as much anymore. Now, we are still going to want to have tasks and services provided by human beings for quite some time because we like human beings, right? And we feel more connected. But I think once you understand that your relative brain power does not matter that much, there's only a couple things that do. And who's going to win in a world where your abilities, your intellectual abilities just don't matter that much anymore? It's going to be the people who are most related. It's going to be the people who are most connected. It's going to be the people that people like the most, right? So likability is going to be huge. Well, how do you get known and liked and understood and all that stuff? You have to be plugging into something consistently. And the problem is most people, most women actually who do something in the physical digital landscape of work belong to several different groups, maybe several different, work business groups or friend groups or whatever it is. The proliferation of communities and groups to join make it overwhelming. So what we mostly do is we sort of bounce around from one to another. One organization or group kind of has our interests and we sort of, follow the breadcrumbs there. And then something happens and we're bored with that and we forget about that. And then we go to this other place. And, most women have multiple memberships to multiple communities. And so the thing I learned from one of my mentors is, you can do three groups well, but if you really, really want to do well, do one. And if you're doing more than three, good luck. Good luck with that. We wish you the best as you fade into obscurity, because it's really impossible if you think about how much time you actually spend, like at home, at work, doing other things, to really make the type of friends that you're going to be wanting to make for this next age and to be known as a specialist in something, right?
Yeah.
So
It's
I
so
think,
interesting too when we think about the difference between that and what our mothers and grandmothers had, right? You were just talking about this, how it's like
yeah,
they had their friend circle and their work circle, if they had a work circle.
if they had a work circle. Yeah, or whoever, wherever they did their labor, right? Whatever that was, whether it was paid or not. And so it's not the way we're encouraged to live now. And keep in mind, because of our late stage capitalism overconsumption, don't worry, I'm not a socialist. I'm just saying, because of that, there's always another better, smarter, cooler group that you're supposed to belong to that, oh my God, you don't belong there yet. What are you doing with your life? Right. So my mentor taught me that you have to show up consistently and you have to show up as an expert, not the kind of expert who tells people how great you are. Here's the key. You don't want to tell people how you're going to help them.
Hmm.
You want to help them. Just start helping.
Yep.
Period, full stop, right? So there's very few areas of work in which there isn't some little concrete thing we can tell people or show people or explain to people for free, right? Of course, it's not the whole big complex thing, but there's this little piece you can usually advise people on. And if you just advise on like a small component of your work in one group and you do it consistently, and by consistently, I mean every week,
Right.
right? Uh, and so if you do that, and people, it takes people a few weeks to roll into this because obviously most people won't see you because they'll be in the other group not paying attention to whatever it is they're doing or not doing, right? So you have to keep doing it so that about the 50th time you've done it, sort of showed up and helped in some way that people can see you, that's when you're thinking, God, I mean, I think, God, everyone's so sick of me. Like no one wants to see my stupid face anymore. That's my natural program. But about that day is when the first people in your group really start to key in. Oh, you've got questions about LinkedIn. Ellen can help you. Or, oh, you've got questions about community. Megan can help you. Or, oh, you're trying to think of a fantastic message, whatever it is,
Right.
right? So that's what you want to do. You want to prioritize one group above all. I prioritize the dames as my number one. I do have a number two and a number three, but like if on a particular week I can't hit all three, I am going to hit the dames.
Right.
And what I mean by hit is share my knowledge.
Yep.
And I think just some things to think about for the dames. The places, and there's numerous places to plug in, and you can speak to this more than I can, but I think the first piece is the dames Facebook group. What I did was just do short form Facebook Lives. Facebook Lives, remember those?
Yeah.
And I just did short, videos answering the most common questions I get about LinkedIn or the most common questions I get about messaging and brand, right? And
Yep.
so I just have a big list of those, just like you do any other form of content. But you're not going into the Dames Facebook group and putting links. You're not talking about your offers, and you're not, trying to lure people to someplace else. You're making them happy they're in the Dames Facebook group
Right.
because they don't have to go anywhere.
And I just
Yeah.
wanted to say, earlier on, just as an example of something that you did and that they could do, is when you were saying there's always a bite-sized piece, because almost all of us in the DAMs are service providers.
Yeah.
There's always a bite-sized piece that you can offer for free that you can do, and it should be something that you can do with ease and deliver quickly, right? And
Yeah.
so we're talking about in the DAMs getting to know each other as power partners. Now, we can't possibly hire each and every one of the people that we want to become power partners with and get the full experience of their services. What we can do is create that bite-sized opportunity for our power
Mhm.
partners to get to know us, like us, and trust us. So you started doing LinkedIn audits back in the
Mhm.
day. And so you
Yeah.
would come in and you would provide value and people would say, "Wow, like how do I do that on LinkedIn?" And you would say, "Well, if you want to, I do a LinkedIn audit." And then you
Mhm.
would give people that opportunity to, fill out a form and you'd do the quick thing and you'd turn around and send them a video. Now, that whole thing, after you've done it for so long, probably took you like 5 minutes to do because you can look at it and you can say, here's the things that I would change. So I
Mhm.
just wanted
Yeah.
to give a concrete example of something that you showed on a regular basis and now have stepped into other ways of contributing to the dams through leading the 10X book club and through, speaking at our events and things like that. So just wanted to give you an example or give
Yeah,
everyone.
no, that's a great point. Yeah, so you've got that first little, even if all you did was show up in the Facebook group once a week with, I don't care if you did a video or a post or a carousel. Do they have carousels on Facebook? I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think so.
whatever it is, right? You're just providing value. You're just providing value. And it's just like in the same way that you help your clients or you help your friends when they ask you questions about this, you're just answering those questions. And then again, if people want, they can contact you uh, privately and you can do a little bit more, which is what I would do. But again, in none of this, there's no talking about offers. There's no, here's why I'm better than everyone else. You need to demonstrate why you've got something to say on this topic that not everyone else is saying or making as easily available. And then the next thing I did after that was look into the next level trainings. So, based on my experience of talking to many people in the DAMES privately and through the Facebook group, I kind of knew what were the most prevalent questions. So then I started applying to do next level trainings on certain topics that, again, are topics that I teach often, but they were just a little bit more geared towards like where the people in the dames are versus then, some other groups I'm part of. So, and then we had the pods come out, and another person in the dames and I both really wanted to read and study the 10X is Easier Than 2X book by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. And so we got together and formed a book club for the dames on that book. And again, it's your people don't really understand really what that means when you are showing up again and you have an opportunity in a group by offering value teaching the stuff you love, sharing the stuff you love, and you get to do it over and over and over. And that's what matters, right? Whether it's in a Facebook group, whether it's in a pod, whether you're showing up that way for your circle, your think tank circle, all three of those ways, you do not want to miss that opportunity to be there and provide value and answer questions when you can, with obviously, being conscious of giving plenty of other people a chance to do the same thing, right? So that nobody's ever feeling sold. They're seeing you like any good content creator in the 2020s. The reason we listen to certain podcasts or watch YouTube channels like over and over and over again is we want to keep getting more value from that person, right? So this is like an opportunity. And also, it makes other people in the group sort of do the partner selecting,
Mm.
right? Like I didn't have to sit down and decipher who was my person because I'm just putting out the information that I think is interesting or valuable. And then people are coming to me and saying, I want to talk to you. I want to meet with you.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
they know, especially when you're talking about, who your ideal clients are, they know they're like, oh, hey, that's the same kind of clients as me. And I'm really great in operations, or I'm really great in finance or whatever. Let's
Graphic
collaborate and
design,
let's,
yeah, where
yeah.
I'm miserable. Yeah, all these complementary things. So, again, as far as power partners, and I'm sure you've already talked about this, but you want to look for either people who are also working with the same type of target client, but doing something different, or you could have power partners to do the exact same thing you do, or the same industry you do in the DAMs, but you just serve slightly different
Audiences.
audiences, and
Yep.
that works as well.
Yeah.
So I think here's the other cool thing about kind of that consistency is if you're a person who doesn't naturally feel comfortable on camera or expressing yourself, first off, bad news. During the AI apocalypse, you are going to have to be visible and express yourself, right? Like that is going to have to be a thing. But let's say you're not really that way right now. You just keep practicing, and if I did certain posts or certain, group leads or certain answers that like weren't my best, most shining examples of, just how gosh
Digital
darn
prowess.
helpful. Yeah, exactly. If they were meh, if they were mid, right, as the kids say, there was always another day to kind of follow up on that. And I wasn't putting pressure on myself to like look perfect and have makeup and hair and like all the things. I'm just like, oh, hey, here's a question I get asked all the time. Here's something you should know about that,
Yep.
right?
And you
And
weren't going on and on for 30 minutes either. It's like
no,
jump in for less than 5 minutes, give
yes,
that value, and be like, sweet, see you later. We all know
yeah,
how to find each other, ladies. Like we're all in the group. We can click on each other's profiles. We can check
mhm.
messages. Note to self, remember to check messages. Um, so we can find
Yeah,
each other when we can.
I'm just
Yeah.
laughing because I fail at that too. And then, but I think that once you take the pressure off yourself that you have to perform on this certain level, and think back to our grandmother's time,
Mm,
when they maybe they're one of their social networks that was important was maybe church, for
right.
example, or synagogue or temple, whatever it was. And they would go every week, and maybe certain times they had to lead groups, or certain times they had to bring food. And it didn't matter if not every single time you did it that you were, just this brilliant pinnacle of culinary, perfection, because you were going to know those people for years.
Mm,
And this long game is where I have been more successful, is in maintaining relationships within my groups, especially the dames, over years and years and years. So recently, for example, I was asked to speak with someone else at a dames event, and the reason this person asked me to co-lead was this person said that I was one of the few people who had never tried to sell them anything, right? And that every time we had gotten together, I just offered what value I could and wasn't expecting this other person to do anything. And that's just old fashioned relatability, community. networking. So whether or not you do all these things, I think if you just make sure, use the science of, oh boy, this is a fun, this, I was just restudying this and it was cracking
A
me up.
science
Do you,
moment?
yes, it's a fun science moment. Do you remember the year that Atomic Habits blew up? That book, James Clear, Atomic Habits?
Yes. Was it before the
Yeah,
pandemic or I think it was
I
before,
think it was
right?
I think it was right before,
Okay.
or either during or after. Anyway, perhaps during the pandemic. But what was really funny was there was another book that came out that same year called Tiny Habits.
Hmm.
And the reason I knew about it was one of my clients does like big time, like she gets ready for people ready to be on Oprah, right?
Right.
So she does training for people in those types of interviews. And so she had this client named BJ Fogg who had this book called Tiny Habits that came out the same year as Atomic Habits.
Hmm.
So how shit is that, right? Like you spend all this anyway. But the lessons from that are interesting
Hmm.
because James Clear, the reason he was so big is he picked like basically two lanes of things he was going to do, and he was mercilessly out in front,
Hmm.
like absolutely presenting the same basic idea in these two lanes that he was in the same groups over and over and over.
Right.
Whereas the other guy who wrote Tiny Habits like did a couple of TV appearances here and there, which
Right.
is not the same thing. But what's funny about it is the Tiny Habits guy is actually my favorite. That book, I think, is a better book because what he teaches is like if you really want to make a habit, for instance, of showing up in the games, the most important thing to do is start small and reward yourself, right? So this week, I'm going to make sure to do a post. This week, I'm going to make sure to meet with somebody. This week, I'm going to make sure to go to my,
Think
think
tank
tank circle.
circle.
Yeah. Keep it small and keep it consistent. And like any habit, like that's how you develop habits. Whereas if you make this sort of big, giant proclamation of I'm going to be this way now, behavior science says that doesn't work very well.
Yeah. I just saw
So
you in like old British regalia with a scroll and saying, "Hear ye, hear ye."
that's right. Hear
This is
ye.
my
I shall from
proclamation.
now on. I shall from now on become a visible, consistent thought leader, providing remarkable value in front of the same groups of people, so they can get to know me. But if you really think about that, get to know me and offering value and consistency, you will get this. And you can try a couple different things. You could try out a couple different pods. You could try your think tank circle. You can try out the Facebook group. And when you post in the Facebook group, if someone comments on your post, you could message that person
Right.
and you check out who they are and see if there's facility there for you and that person to talk. And that's one last thing I want to say, and then I'll shut my yap. Whenever I'm meeting people for these opportunities, I'm never like meeting people to uh, have coffee back in the common parlance. If I was going to propose meeting with Megan, I'd say, "Hey, Megan, I saw your post, or thanks for commenting on my post. I mentioned something she does and something I do. Maybe for 30 minutes, we could talk about how to help each other with that, right? Like I'm being very intentional about, I'm not going to be here wasting your time, right?
Totally.
And I think that the willingness to do that in communication, the person who has the strongest intention wins, i.e., like you're demonstrating to other people, like I see you, I understand who you are, and I have a thought for how we might explore this,
Yes.
right? And
And
so,
be a leader too, right? So like when you set up that intention, you're going to meet for 30 minutes, be the one who sets up the agenda in the beginning and says, "So hey, we have 30 minutes. How about we talk 10 minutes each about what we do and then let's leave 10 minutes at the end to talk about how we can support each other." Like lead the conversation. Even if you're with someone who loves to talk, you which you and I both do.
or I was going to say, you're talking about me. Yes. Yeah,
No, no, no.
exactly.
I, this is something I taught myself because I would ask so many questions of the other person, and then I would get
Yeah.
to the end and I'm like, wow, I never talked about myself, and they didn't ask me. And instead of making it about them, I was like,
Mhm.
huh, I'm the one who constantly asks questions. As a projector in human design, that's what we do. If I don't insert myself in there in a certain place to be able to talk, then whose fault is it? It's mine. So I
Yeah.
always set it up in the beginning of any conversation, and then I'll just put it out there as an agenda. And then,
That's such a great point and
yeah,
demonstrates like whoever has the intention is going to control the pacing. Not that you're trying to control someone else,
no,
but you're thinking about what's my intention for making this really, really valuable for both of us. The other thing is, if you do meet with somebody privately in the Dames and you do provide value, and that person at the end says, "Thank you, that was really useful. Thanks for answering my question or showing me how to do this thing. What can I do for you?" Well, the other thing I would say is I always have an ask ready. So when someone, I do that for someone in the Dames and they say, "What can I do for you?" I said, "You could go in the Dames Facebook group and write a 2 sentence post about how I helped you with this or that, right? Like, what did you get from that?"
yep,
That's another way to get other people's to start making you consistently visible on a public level. And
brilliant.
if you play this long game, you are going to win. Now, I always the one other thing is, as Megan, I'm sure that you are telling people consistently, is make it stupid obvious what you do and who it's for.
What
And
you do and who it's for, not all the things you do, what you specialize in and who it's for. So
and
Ellen has a dossier, is that a word in English? A
sure, why not?
CV full of all of the things that she has done and all the brilliance she is over the years of her career. She doesn't talk about that. She talks about the one thing she does and who she does it for. Just have to,
Yeah. And just because people who tend to come in this group do tend to have very high IQs, I just want to clarify what is stupid obvious. Okay, so here's stupid obvious. If we took away 100 IQ points from you and the person who's viewing your what you do and who it's for, like if someone had 100 fewer IQ points, would they still understand? Like that's what stupid obvious is. And the difference here is, especially people are getting better about this, I've noticed, but there was a period there for about 5 to 7 years where people were saying things like, "I'm here to help transform um, you
women
know, high
business owners.
high performing women business owners and mission minded enterprises." And like that all sounds good, but where's the stupid obvious,
And what does it mean?
right? And what does it mean? And then another one I've been hearing recently is people saying, "I specialize in 6 to 7 figure business owners." Well, the problem there is that means everyone from who's making $1 million to $99 million company.
Yep.
And that's kind of broad, makes it
Broad.
hard for me to imagine. Yeah, yeah. So make it stupid obvious, be consistent, share your value, and like just try it out. Try out these different methods. If one isn't for you, great, move on. The way you win is you have found a way to show up consistently, and over time, your stock in the games is going to get more and more and more valuable. And that's true of any community that you can join, right? There's no community where you are instantly just the most important, valued, sought after person. And I think if you get, "Oh wow, in 5 years there is no brain power thing that I can do that's a machine can't do better," what's left? Your relationships.
How you relate.
That's it. That's it. How you are known and chosen, and what you demonstrate to others in the group. And I will say that eventually your reputation in the Dames will be like your reputation is in any other group. We sort of consistently show up that way.
Yeah.
So to decide. Yeah. Is that good?
I love it. I just want to say one thing. I just want to toot your horn just a little bit on something because one element that I see you do really well that you could never talk about by yourself is that you don't engage in or create any drama. You, if somebody is talking to you about something else or, whatever, you don't blow it up. You don't turn up the volume on it. You don't go and talk to other people about it. You don't even really engage in that. And that is a really important thing to say, that you can't be in a community and be very well seen and very well known if you are going around stirring up drama. It's not going to work. It's going to bite you in
Yeah,
the butt at some point. And
yeah, yeah,
I
that's a
just
good
had to
point.
say it because you really truly demonstrate this on a beautiful level. So if you find yourself, doing the thing that women can do and getting catty about something, or, gossiping about somebody else or whatever, I would just say perhaps that's not valuable for you.
Yeah, that's such a good point, actually. I mean, in any group you're going to be in, there are going to be people you like better than other people. In any group you're in, you're going to run into people on their bad days, and you don't need to share that with anyone else. You don't need to talk about that with anyone else unless you want to go to somebody who you think perhaps might have some influence on that situation. But overall, you just don't need to because it's not going to hurt you in the long run what that person is doing, you
Yep.
know? And I think that's just like school, that's just like church or synagogue or wherever you go, your gym. It doesn't matter. There's always people that you're going to click with more. And you just don't need to get into that. I think the other big thing there is often for a lot of people with the dames, this might be the first time in a long time they've been in a women's community where there are other people who are performing as well or better.
Yeah.
There are people in the dams that um, are infinitely better than I am at some things that I do.
Right.
And um, I mean, I actually love that. I love being in communities where I'm like, can look at other people with awe and just be like, oh my God, what is happening there? Right. But
Right.
if it's been a while and you're used to being the smarty pants who knows all the things or has done things more, it can be a little agitating. And I think that agitation is really good for us. Um, like all good tennis players, we're going to play better when we play with the best in the world. And so it's if you see somebody who's sucking up all the oxygen, doing something similar to what you do, well, then that's going to push you a little harder to find your own unique edge of that thing, which is going to serve you not just in the games, but in the marketplace. And so then lastly, I will say that just like the getting about a third between about 35%, I think I figured it was. So that's a lot of the business I get is through the dames. I've worked with a lot of dames, but a lot of it is people might have, they came to one of our book club meetings and then they recommend me to their friend who is not in the dames. So I get that business all the time, and that's just
That's
all
what power
a,
partnership is.
yeah,
And that's
exactly.
what demonstrating what you do and who you do it for leads to. Because if
Yeah.
you can say to somebody, this is exactly the result that I provide my clients, and I love working with business owners that are in that chasm between 500,000 and 2 million, who are in the industries of blah, blah, and blah. And, then people start thinking, oh, I know who to send Ellen. I just made those
Yeah.
things up. That's not who
No,
she's.
I like the chasm between 500 and 2 mil because that is generally the chasm in which I function.
It's true.
So that's a brilliant, brilliant thing. When you meet with people privately in the Dames or any other group, you don't know ahead of time when you meet with someone if they're, could even be a prospect, if they're a power partner, if they're just someone who has an awesome podcast. What if they're just someone who has an awesome network
Yeah,
that you can't see, right? So when you show up and provide value and act intentionally, you're going to win every time. You just have to be a
absolutely.
bit more patient. And didn't you say, I think you told me one time, Megan, that people who are like the most successful in the games are usually the people who stay a little bit longer, go a little bit deeper, and plug in.
Always.
Yeah.
Especially if you are in an industry where there are a lot of people who do what you do.
Hmm.
The dames who are most successful figure out who it is that they serve. They niche up. They talk
Hmm.
about that niche ad nauseum,
Ad
and
nauseum.
they show up at things consistently so that consistency and frequency creates memory.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I see you frequently at things online, if I see you showing up in the Facebook group, if I hear you say who it is that you love working with, if I hear you say the results you provide, the next time I'm out and about meeting someone, I'm going to think, ooh, I need to connect to this person. Or I'm going to say, you know what? It's time for me to belly up to the bar and work with that person or whatever the case may be. So yes, be consistent. I love this. Provide value, get to know your fellow dames, and thank you, Ellen, for the wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. Be consistently visible.
Yes, consistently
I value.
with value.
And
Consistently
and
visible with
observe.
value.
There we go. There, that sounds better. I like that. That's packaged better.
I love
Thank
it.
you so much, Megan.
Thank you, Ellen. So, Ellen, now that you have so graciously provided us with so much value, would you tell everyone who it is that you work with and what is the, end result? What is it that you do for them?
Well, if we talk about the entire archery target of the people that we tend to serve and think about who's in that bullseye, most of the people who work with us are at 500K or above. They have a successful service provider business. They are a coach, they're a consultant, they're a therapist, they're a teacher. And what they're trying to do now is become a world-class thought leader with a new message. And so my company is called Super Tight. And what we do is help people create something called the bitch slap of truth, which is your universal thought leader message that you're going to use everywhere you go, especially in creating what we call your dark triad, which is your TED Talk, your book, and your channel, whatever that channel might be. So my background is I'm a professor of, used to be a professor of rhetoric, of the influence of the rhetoric of influence and persuasion. And so our argument is if you want to go to those Brene Brown, Tim Ferriss, Dan Sullivan, James Clear heights, if you look, you will see that all those people have a bitch slap of truth message, which is viral, repeatable, and changes the way people think immediately. So that's what we're really focused on right now is working with those people and helping to create that bitch slap of truth outline. We usually start with doing the talk, but we also work on it as far as a book and a channel and other things like that. But it's really that core main message that's your version of 10x is easier than 2x, or let them, or atomic habits, or the 4 hour work week. And I believe everyone has a bitch slap of truth message inside their work. And it's our job to help pull it out and make it so you can tell everyone and create that reaction and that following. That
Love
was
it.
pretty good. I'm still thinking about how to describe this, so hopefully that
Yes, and
made sense.
you're also in the process of writing a book and creating a movement. So, stay tuned.
Yes,
This is going to be
yes. The book,
updated
the,
2 months
the
from
book is the book is called The Bitch Slap of Truth: Getting and Keeping Attention During the AI Apocalypse, where we're going to teach you how to not just get attention, but to create allegiance, which is the long-term strategy you're going to need to survive in a time where humanity has never gone before. All
now.
that relationality that I was talking about.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Ellen. And people can connect with you. Where is the best place that they should connect with you?
Probably they can connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn is probably the easiest, or they can go to thebsot.com.
And they should send you a message and say, hey, it's so and so met you in the Dames.
That sounds good. I will make sure to pay
Okay.
attention.
Awesome.